Hello and welcome to another episode of Snakes Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network. Be sure to like this video on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, maybe leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. I am Jesse Friedman alongside the one, the only Jack Sommers. And Jack, we have a special guest joining us on today's episode. I imagine you've spent a fair amount of time the past 10 years watching this man play baseball.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. David Peralta is going to be here, and super excited to talk to him and see what he's got to say about how his life's going, and just ask him lots of questions about his history and background and career and all of that. So this is going to be great.
It was a lot of fun talking with David. We're going to start out with that interview, and then on the back end, we'll come back and talk about some D-back spring training updates. We'll talk the latest on Merrill Kelly, his status going into the season, as well as some other standouts in camp. So we'll get to that. Stick around on the back end of the show. But once again, we have a special guest joining us. We're going to start out with that. So without further ado, here is our conversation with the freight train himself, D-backs outfielder David Peralta. Well, if you've been a fan of the Arizona Diamondbacks for any length of time, chances are you're very familiar with the man who joins us now. It is longtime Diamondbacks outfielder David Peralta. David, first of all, thanks for hopping on the show. We really appreciate it. And I also, of course, have to say, speaking on behalf of all Diamondbacks fans, congratulations on a tremendous career.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So yeah, it's David, awesome to have you on, and just so I want to say welcome as well from my standpoint. It's just tremendous to get a chance to talk to you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, David, I imagine this had to be. I know there are many positives that come out of this, right? You get to spend more time with family and whatnot. I'm sure you're looking forward to that. But I imagine this is also difficult for you at the same time, having played this game for so long. Just what are the vibes right now in the Peralta household? How are you feeling about all this?
Well, the vibes has been crazy. I'm spending like full time with the family, with the kids, being a normal dad 24/7, which is great. That's what I was looking for. The decision to retire, like you said, it's not easy. It took me like a full year to think about it, to ask around to its teammates who did the same thing, and talk a lot with my wife, and we got a conclusion. I told my wife, like, hey, you guys sacrificed a lot for me, going wherever I go, and everything, knowing that I was traveling a lot, I wasn't spending a lot of time at home. And now I think it's time for me to dedicate full time for you guys because you guys deserve it. So, and we made the decision. It wasn't easy because there's I love baseball. Baseball's my life, but I love my family too, and my family what was the main reason they made the decision to retire. I need to see grow my kids and see them grow because the time goes really fast. So I don't want to miss that time at all.
How many kids do you have, and how old are they now?
I have three kids. I got two daughters and a boy. So 8, 5, and the little one, the boy, is 2 years old.
Do any of them have your swing? Are you starting to notice any resemblance yet on that front?
Well, I'm a coach right now for my daughter's team. She started
Okay.
playing this year, coach pitch softball, and she's getting better. She's a lefty. She's a righty, but she swing lefty. I told her like, okay, you're gonna swing lefty. My older daughter, she's playing t-ball. She love it. She's 5 years old. She's loving it. And well, the little one, he's too little right now. He's 2 years old, but he's gonna be the prospect. Definitely, he's gonna be the prospect. I'm gonna do everything I can, to stay in baseball.
That's great. Do you have any plans, aside from coaching and staying home, like to stay in baseball in any other capacity at this point in time?
Well, right now, I think everything's like it's happening too soon. I'm still like adjusting to be like, the news of retirement and everything. Of course, I want to stay in baseball, but I want to dedicate a little bit time to my family. But I don't think I want to do like full time like baseball job, like being a coach. I like to be more like a mentor for the young kids, especially in minor league, because that really helped me to get to the point and to be successful in my career, the mental side, because it's easy, like you have your skill, you're a professional, but if you're not right here in your brain, like mentally, nothing's gonna work. I know a lot of friends, they have, super skills, like they're a superstar, but they couldn't figure it out for some reason, and I think it's everything start right here. So I want to help this young generation to become mature so they can handle the big league and be successful for a long career.
I thought it was cool, David, in your announcement announcing your retirement officially. You gave a shout out to a couple of your former coaches. One of them being one that Diamondbacks fans are very familiar with, still, of course, with the team, in Dave McKay. You talk about mentors and kind of wanting to do that for other people. What we hear so much about Dave McKay. I'm sure it comes as no surprise to you that everyone who comes through this organization just absolutely loves the guy. But for you personally, like what made him just such an outstanding coach defensively?
Well, David McKay, he was my mentor. He was best coach. He was my friend. He was everything. And since the first day I got to the big league, he told me, and it was just crazy. He was like, David, here in the big league, it's more easy to hit than minor league. And I didn't get it. I didn't know why. He just told me that. And and I was like, and then days was buying for and everything, and I started realizing like, yeah, you're right. It's more discipline in the big league. That's where you're in the big league. You got to go through minor leagues to get to be disciplined because the big league is 100%. You don't have to do everything right, but you have to be very disciplined to and consistent to stay in the big league. He teach me how to play the game right. He teach me how to run the base. It's not like I didn't know how to do it. He just told me how to do it, how to look professional, how to get good pressure. He made me a Gold Glove, and I remember that year in 2019, and that's like I have to give him all the credit because I'm not gonna go out there and say, yeah, I did it. No, he did it for me. I thought I was playing right. I was playing good defense, and he came one day before the game started, and he showed me some numbers and said, David, these numbers they're okay, but I know you better than this. And I'm like, and inside I was like, oh, I was a little not upset, but like, I'm doing well. No, I want you to do this because I know you can be better than that. And we went. He always say, hey, it's not any magic drill to get better in an outfield or defense, but there is one. So he made me check every single ball during BP.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter if it comes to you, you're gonna react everywhere, and that's gonna make you be better. And I was like, I trust you, McKay. I'm gonna do it. Soon enough, I won a Gold Glove, and I didn't even play the full season. I only played 100 games because I ended up that year having surgery on my shoulder, and I was the best left fielder in the whole big league, just because him. He just told me this is what you got to do. It's just the trust that he tells you, like the positive, all this knowledge that he gives it to you. It's just like it's hard. Like it's the best. I think he's the best. That's why the Diamondbacks always keep him. They're gonna keep him for. He's 75, and the thing is, he's 72, 75 years old. He looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you not admire that guy? And I was like, I wish I can be like when I'm old like you. I mean, I shouldn't say that because he don't like when you call him old, but he looks like a 21 years old guy. But I mean, I really love him, and I text him before that I announced my retirement. I text him before that, and I say, "Hi, I just want to let you know that I made the decision. I'm going to retire, and thank you for everything for making me be a better person and make me be who I am right now."
That's awesome. His sheets are legendary. The papers with the marks and the good and the bad marks, the check marks and all that. Like the accountability he demands. What was it like when you show up on the wrong end of one of his sheets too?
Hey, that's the best part because that's the challenge that you take. I don't want to be a red mark over there, so I'm gonna do my best. So you're thinking like, hey, I have to make a good turn. I have to run hard and everything, and that's gonna make you a better player because he always tell you, hey, remember, it's not just the D-back who's watching you play. It's another 29 teams in the big leagues that's watching you. You don't know where you're gonna be next. So give you 100% effort every day because you don't know where you're gonna be tomorrow. And they're gonna and another team is gonna say, we want David Peralta because he's a, a role model. He played the game the right way, and I want this guy for my team. And that's how it is. But hey, I'm telling you, there is a guys that we got traded. And this is a funny story. JD Martinez, he was coming from Detroit when he got traded to the D-backs.
Hmm.
And McKay told him, hey, this is a sheet. You got to follow. If you get negative and everything, you're going to, the first week he was like getting a little bit annoying about that. Oh, I have to run hard all the time and everything. And I'm like, man, just trust it. And you're going to become a better player. And he did it. And he was like hustling. He was like making base singles to the double and stuff like that. And he realized like, hey, that make me a better baseball player. Even just a simple thing, a running chart. That's how he called it, running chart.
Right,
Something
right.
simple and make you be a better player than something.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Of course, your defense was a big part of your game, David. I know your offense maybe even a bigger part of your game. And in your announcement, you gave a shout out to José Amado, who I
Yeah,
know was
Jose Amado.
one of your coaches back in independent ball way back in the day. I know you credited him for your Silver Slugger that you won back in 2018. Can you take us through a little bit of your relationship with him? I know he's also a really big part of this journey for you.
He it was the same thing. Like when I did my transition from the pitcher to position player, I was just I want to swing, just pull the ball, all this stuff. So I went to play in Wichita Wignos. That's in my second year in independent ball, and he was the hitting coach. He's from Venezuela, José Amado, and he saw the talent that I have, and he told me like, "Hey, I'm going to teach you how to use the whole field because it's now about pulling the ball, and everything." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to follow you." So I trust him. He was like every single day with me, and he made me be a better player because you line drive guys and a guy who can hit the ball to the other way, they're going to stay in the big league for a long time. And he was doing even when I made it to the big league, he was my personal hitting coach. I always work out with him during the off season. And when something was wrong during the season, I was sending a lot of video to him like, "Hey, I'm doing this. What do you see?" And he knew me. It's the same thing. 2018 when I won my Silver Slugger, and the month of May, I hit 130. I was like, "Oh boy, I can't hit anymore." So I talked to him. I was talking to him and everything, and he said like, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do. You gotta trust me." And I'm like, "Whatever you say, I'm gonna do it. We're gonna start from zero. We're gonna start from zero. Let's start over. We're gonna reset, and you're gonna do this drill on the cage, and just trust it. Trust it. And just when you go up there to hit during the game, don't think about anything. Just let it happen." Okay, and that's how we start. How we start. And I ended up hitting 30 homers and winning the Silver Slugger. It's amazing, like how you can change just with the talk and change your mentality and the way you see stuff can make you go to the next level.
I know you spent quite a bit of time with current Diamondbacks manager Torey Lovello as well during your time in the organization. I'm curious what your relationship with Torey was like over those years, and he's still at it, I guess, for a reason, right?
Uh, You said it. He's still there for a reason because he's a good man. I really like it. We really have a good relationship, and since the day one he got there in 2017, he was like the communication with the players and everything, the trusting, and he really trusts the group that we have over there. And I was talking to him like, "Tori, we got you." Like it's the brotherhood that we have. Okay, you worry about the game that we're gonna take care of the clubhouse, and that was that trust. And if it's something was going wrong, like we talk each other all the time because it's I mean it's a lot of responsibility for the manager to be. I gotta manage the game. I gotta do this. I gotta make the right move, and I need someone to help me out to keep the players on the right track. So it was good. And the moment when I got traded, that was a sad moment, of course, for everyone. And And he wished me the best and everything. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna be here for you guys whenever you need me. And of course, the next year I signed with the Dodgers, and I'm like, oh, everything went crazy. You know how it is, the situation, but it's the same love. It's the same love, same relationship, and like you said, he's still in the D-backs because he's the best. He's a good man.
I remember just your good-natured humor, joking. Hey, you told Mike stop drafting left-handed outfielders.
Yeah, yeah.
that
And I
always
stopped
made me
doing it
laugh.
because they're gonna take my job, and I'm like, oh. Hey man, you have to have fun in baseball because, like, look, that's what you're gonna take with you. The game is gonna keep going. The game is gonna be changing and everything, but what you're gonna take is all those great moments that you spend with your teammates, laugh, bad moments because you gotta take your bad moments too. Like, hey, the big slump and couldn't do anything, a four strikeout day. That's gonna happen because you're gonna learn from that. But there's gonna be a lot of good moments. That's what you gotta take. You gotta have fun. And I always tell the guys like, hey, enjoy your day. Enjoy today. Enjoy in the big league. You're in the big league. Enjoy your day because you don't know where you're gonna be tomorrow. And I always tell them like, hey, yesterday when I was yesterday I was playing independent ball. Today I'm in the big league. I don't know where I'm gonna be tomorrow, so I'm gonna make sure that today I'm gonna give my 100%. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna enjoy everything. And when they give me the chance to play, I'm gonna give everything I got. By the time I go to bed and put the head on my pillow, I'm gonna be like, I did everything. So tomorrow's gonna be a new day. That was my mindset every single day. And it worked for me. It worked. It worked for me, and that's what I was trying to like encourage all these young kids because there's a lot of kids they come from AAA just thinking like, oh, I gotta go, I gotta do this because they're gonna send me down. No, that's not fun. You don't know if that's gonna be your only chance, and you're gonna be just worried about stress. No, enjoy. Big league's not easy, and it's not for everyone. So if you got the opportunity, just take it and just enjoy and do everything you can. And that's it. That was my mindset every day.
I know that the fans, I mean, they totally felt that vibe from you, from the day you arrived, and just the way you played the game with both joy and hustle and well, all of those
Yeah.
things combined, made you a favorite. Now, you had that nickname, of course. It's a fabulous nickname, the Freight Train. I'm trying to remember how that came about. Was that from the broadcast booth or somebody else?
Yeah. Steve, Steve Perfume, he's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
who named it that way. It was like because, Chase Field is a huge gap, big ballpark, and I was hitting a lot of triples.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like assuming every time when I was hitting those balls, oh, hitting the gap, I'm running. And he was keep saying, he's running like a freight train, like a freight train. And the fans love it, and I was like, I like it, it's working, so why not? So, and I became the freight tram and everyone, and then you got to do it, you got to add some stuff.
That's awesome.
If I'm getting the history right, which correct me if I'm wrong, uh, I believe there was a point when you were in independent ball, maybe on the verge of signing something with the Diamondbacks. I believe it was José Amado, right, who was maybe looking at
Hmm.
opportunities for you to play baseball in Mexico, maybe earn a little bit more money that way. I mean, how close
Yep.
were you to going that route instead of signing with the Diamondbacks? And like, how do you think about that now in retrospect?
Whoa, I got goosebumps with that. You know why? Because he's the one who was like, hey, David, I got you. You want to go to Mexico? You want to make more money? And I was like, sure. Send me your passport, like photos and everything. And for some reason, it was meant to be. For some reason, something happened that got a little bit delayed, and the Diamondback came a day before, like, "Hey, we're gonna sign you." The next day, Amado told me, like, "Hey, we gotta know." I'm like, "Hey, I signed with the D-backs," but it was meant to be. I was this close to go to Mexico because they were gonna pay me good money. Mexico they pay good money,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Hey, I just wanna, I wanna play too. I wanna make money," and yeah, of course, Mexico is a hard level too, and they didn't happen for a reason, so that's good. I'm glad that didn't happen, but he was helping me to go over there too.
Hmm.
You got it right. You got the story right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he told you. He told someone about that.
Glad I got the history right.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
also I'm also curious, like as someone who this is something I've struggled with personally for many years. I imagine I'm not alone. Like I tend to find my identity at times in what I do for work. Like, however I feel like I'm performing at my job, like that is closely tied to just how I'm doing as a person. And if I didn't have a job that I was doing in the same way, I like wouldn't know what to do with myself anymore. So I'm curious, like how are you processing that as someone who baseball has been such a huge part of your life for so long? How are you imagining life without that in your schedule on a day-to-day basis?
I just do that with my kids, with my family.
Hmm.
That's what I do with my family. I'm a family guy. I like to spend a lot of time with my family, with friends and everything. And now that I don't have that part of baseball, so so my family get to enjoy all the energy that I have 24/7, you know, and my kids. But that's what I do. I mean, as a ball player, you know when you start, but you know it's going to be in the end of your career at some point, and you want to end your career in the right way. And for me, I knew that that moment was going to come, and you have to prepare yourself mentally. Like I said in the beginning, as Martin Prado, one of the best teammates that I ever had, he always talked to me, and when I need to talk to someone about that, I always call him. We still stay in touch, and because he retired and he had family and everything, he helped me to go through this. Like, hey, you got to be prepared for this. You got to be prepared. It's going to be a new life because now you're going to be with your family 24/7, which is you're not used to. It's
Yeah.
nothing wrong, but you got to be willing to do that, because we used to during the season is 1 week with the family and then another week we're on the road for 6 months, 7 months, and then that stuff it matters. And I was like, no, I'm ready for that. I think I miss my kids and I want to do it for them, and I have the opportunity to do it, and I can do it, so I'm going to do it. But it's my family get to enjoy all the
Oh.
energy, all the craziness, because I have to let it out somehow.
So do your kids have a harder time keeping up with your energy, or you have a harder time keeping up with their energy?
I have a hard time keeping up with the energy. They got all my energy. Oh, unbelievable. But yep, I had to do it. That's why I stay in shape. I'm still going working out and everything, so I can stay in shape and I can keep up with them.
Last thing for you, David, then we'll get you out of here. I imagine there has to be at least a small part of you that is somewhat sad to not experience the ABS system that is coming to baseball. Like, if I were you, I'd be thinking to years past throughout my career, like all of the calls over the years that, oh, that was a missed call, that was a missed call. This year you'd have had the opportunity to challenge those, right? What is your perspective on this new ABS system
Oh,
that's coming to baseball?
so I'm a old school guy, and I have the experience to do that and to 24 because I play a little bit in AAA because I was rehabbing my surgery, so they
Oh,
have
right.
that going on.
Yeah.
Didn't like it. I didn't like it.
Huh.
I didn't like it because um, I think it's baseball is more like as a human being, it's a judgment. Like I know some calls you should deserve it. Oh, I'm right, I'm wrong, but that's part of the game. Some decision can screw games or big decision, but it's part of the game. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. Some people like it, some people no, don't like it. But I'm not a big fan. I mean,
Hmm.
if you make me choose between the rub up umpire or the AB, the challenge, I'd rather do the challenge, the tap one.
Hmm.
I'd rather do that one than the other one. But it's just that's the way it is. Like I said, I'm an old school guy, and the catchers, their job, like how are you gonna evaluate catchers because their job is to make ball look like a strike. So how are you gonna
Yeah.
evaluate them? That's a big deal for them too. Pitchers, they have to like like it's a lot of question, about that. But
Mm.
like I said, I'm glad. Well, not glad, but like I'm out. So all the stuff like like I said, not a big fan of that, but it is what it is. Like the games is changing, you have to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
I just had one last question, if I can
Yeah.
grab one more. So WBC is just about to start. Um, you had very solid performance in 23 in the WBC. And I wanted to hear about your experience playing in the WBC and how that ranked, the excitement of playing for your country, how that ranked amongst your baseball experiences.
Hey, that's the best experience of my life in baseball.
Hmm.
Well, you can take it away like always the first one's gonna be when you make your MLB debut, but representing your country, having your Venezuela in your chest and just playing just to represent your country was the best for me. And I never made it to the All-Star game. I should have made it in 2018, but well, whatever. But that was my
Agree.
All-Star game. That was my All-Star game because I was playing against all superstar. My teammates, they were all superstar, and it was unbelievable. The vibe, the energy. It was super loud in Miami. Even my wife, it was like, wow, this is crazy. My family, they were like, this is crazy, and I love it. So I'm gonna be rooting for Venezuela, of course. And this time they're gonna make it, and I can't wait to start. I'm gonna be watching for sure.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. I just can't imagine what that must have been like you said, in that jam-packed stadium in Miami, that whole
Hey,
atmosphere. Just
I'm loud. I'm always loud when I'm playing. I couldn't even hear myself. I was like, okay, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Wow.
It was
That
it was
is.
amazing. Yeah.
Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. Truly goes without saying. I mean, one of the greatest stories in our sport over the last couple of decades, from independent ball to just an unbelievable career. So, thanks again for hopping on, and best of luck keeping up with the kids at home.
I thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
thanks, David. Take
Thanks.
care.
All right.
Well, we are going to jump into some Diamondback spring training updates. But first, we want to ask one more time. Please be sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon for notifications so that you never miss an episode of the show. And as always, we love hearing from you in the comments. Let us know your favorite David Peralta memory from his time as a member of the Diamondbacks. We always enjoy hearing from you over there. And if you're joining us on an audio only platform, we'd also really appreciate it if you would leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you in advance for doing all of those things. And now, Jack, we go ahead and jump in. Of course, Merrill Kelly's been a big topic throughout spring training for the Diamondbacks, his status with his intercostal nerve irritation that has already removed the possibility of him starting on opening day. But we got an update out at spring training on Tuesday. I know you were out there, Jack. What's the latest on Merrill Kelly's situation?
Well, actually, Alex D'Agostino did post some video showing Merrill throwing off flat ground, and then was able to ask Tori about it afterwards. And indeed, Merrill was throwing from about 60 feet. At the time that uh, they spoke to Tori, they didn't actually have Tori didn't actually have the opportunity to have already spoken with Merrill Kelly himself, although he did pass him and got some nonverbal communication, as Tori put it, that seemed to indicate it went well. But this was flat ground, not from a bullpen mound, which is a very key distinction here. And so Tori was asked about when he might get up on a mound, and I'll let Jesse read some of the quotes, and the listener can see how definitive this is or is not.
Yeah, this is classic Torey Lovello injury update speak, or sort of non-update speak. He said, there is an eye on getting him, speaking of Merrill Kelly, back out and throwing a bullpen, but we've got to make sure that he gets to that throwing program and that he's asymptomatic. Torey later continued, sooner than later, as soon as possible. That's when he was asked about when Merrill could get back on a mound. Torey then continues, I think the medical team will figure that out, and depending on how he did today, through the rest of his throwing programs. So not a whole lot of not a whole lot of concreteness to this update from Torey Lovullo, but Jack, it seems like there's still an outside shot for Merrill Kelly to start the season on the roster, not need an injured list stint. We already know he's not going to start on opening day, but maybe he could start on the roster and pitch in, the fourth or fifth game of the season, something like that. It doesn't feel like the odds of that happening, though, are all that high, hearing these words from Torey.
Yes. Well, I just want to differentiate very, very clearly. There's reporting, and then there's opinion and analysis. So on the reporting end, what we have to report is that Merrill Kelly threw. The team is still not ruling him out being ready for the fifth game of the season, March 31st versus the Detroit Tigers. Okay, that's the quote-unquote back end of the rotation. So based on everything I see, and here's where opinion kicks in, I believe that if Merrill Kelly is not throwing off a mound tomorrow, and within a couple days of that, at the latest, throwing at least an inning or two of live BP, and then immediately getting into a game after that, 5 days later, if that's not the progression, then there's just no way that the calendar doesn't work. He won't be ready by March 31st unless all of that starts these next 24 to 48 hours. Okay. So that's where that's at. So right now, I am highly skeptical that Merrill Kelly will be ready to pitch the fifth game of the season unless they're ready to roll out like a pseudo bullpen game and have him go 3 innings or something. I don't see how he could be built up to even 575 by that time. I mean, I'm just lining it out. It's very difficult at this point. So what does that mean? If you remember a little while ago, I wrote an article and I had like 4 different scenarios. So the third of those scenarios was that they don't put him on the IL, but they run the first 4 starters through the rotation twice. There's a off day that allows them to do that. And instead of the 5th game of the year, Merrill pitches the 9th or 10th game of the year. But if they do that, then they're going to be a man short in the bullpen. And if they have any short outings, they're in trouble. So I don't think they're going to want to do that either. So it's my belief, if I'm, I think in the past we said 50-50. I think right now it's about 75-25 that Merrill is going to have to open the day, open on the IL, the 15-day IL, backdated 3 days before the start of the season to the 23rd of March, which means that he wouldn't be eligible to come off the IL until they play the Mets in Citi Field. So you're looking around the 7th or the 8th of April. That's my belief, but that's not fact. That's just what I happen to believe at the moment.
It definitely feels like, even if you could run your 4 guys through a couple of times and then insert Merrill at that point, the D-backs seem to be fairly conservative at the start of the season, wanting to have some extra coverage in the bullpen. I guess if you had, someone from the minors who is stretched out, of course, the D-backs still theoretically have 6 starting pitchers. If you include Michael Soroka in that mix, he could certainly provide some length there. But yeah, it feels like the D-backs tend to play it conservative. And I'm not sure it's worth being a man short in the bullpen just so you can have Merrill Kelly start, the 9th game of the season, as opposed to just having him start when he's eligible to come off the injured list. So, and also with Merrill Kelly himself, I don't know if at 37 years old you're wanting to, really push him at all. Like you want him to be in a good spot, ready to start the season. If he needs to miss 1 extra start, that's not the end of the world. Maybe that's a trade-off you're willing to take there. So I guess the other news injury-wise, Jack, is
sorry, I just had one other thought on this I want to add. I guess there's one other thing, and because you mentioned Soroka and it kind of triggered my mind there. There's another very creative way to go about it where they could piggyback. And say, for example, Merrill, well, maybe he can at least throw 3 innings, 45, 50 pitches, and then in the 4th inning, hand the ball off to Soroka and let him get through 3 innings, 4 or more if you can get it. You could do something like that as well. You could potentially even do that from the 5th game of the season, possibly, where maybe you can only get Merrill up to 3 innings, and maybe you do that 2 times through the rotation until Merrill's able to get you past 5 innings. I don't know. I mean, if they really want to be creative, that is a way to go.
Yeah, that's a great point. That feels to me maybe more likely than the situation where you just run your 4-man rotation through twice and then insert Merrill at that point. So we'll see how the Diamondbacks want to approach that. Elsewhere in injury news, Jack, I know Brandon Pfaadt has been a topic of conversation, having some issues with his side over the offseason. Team has slow played him a little bit. He is scheduled to start on Wednesday, make his Cactus League debut. So hopefully all is well with Brandon Pfaadt. As of right now, we're not expecting him to open the year on the IL or anything. As far as we know, he's asymptomatic, and the team just wanted to be careful there. In the injury world, Jack, is there anything we're missing here? Any other guys that are worth giving a quick update on?
There were some updates about who's been throwing. I think AJ Puck's thrown out to 120 feet. And I apologize, I don't have all of them in front of me right now. Corbin Burns has been throwing, but not quite as far. So there is some progress there. I think Justin Martinez throwing program is also out to at least 100 feet.
There you go. D-backs can certainly use those guys at some point, hopefully not too far into the season. Transitioning to some offensive players, some guys who are not hurt, hopefully for the Diamondbacks will stay that way. Ryan Waldschmidt and Jordan Lawlar, part of this emerging young outfield for this Diamondbacks team. Of course, we don't know if Ryan Waldschmidt will start the year on the Major League team. Very possible he does not. Jordan Lawlar seems like he definitely will start the year on the Major League team. But those two guys made some very good defensive plays in the outfield today, Jack. And with this odd outfield situation the Diamondbacks have, I mean, it kind of feels like it's Corbin Carroll and a whole bunch of question marks out there. And even Corbin Carroll is dealing with this hamate injury. But the fact that those guys were able to go out and show what they can do defensively in the game today, that we know how much Torey Lovullo values defense, and I think particularly for Waldschmidt, that's significant in his journey to maybe make this team.
Yeah, they both made a couple of great catches. Oh, by the way, Corbin Carroll has been talking about being ready opening day. I think we mentioned this last time. And since then, Torey even kind of tipped his hand that he thinks that there's a good chance that Corbin will be ready by opening day. So that was one last little injury note. But yeah, the first play that really stood out, I mean, Lawlar and Waldschmidt actually kind of converged almost to the same spot. And Lawlar was just a step or two behind Waldschmidt and got to the wall, made a running catch up against the wall on a deep drive that would have bounced off the wall, had Lawlar not caught it. It was a really good play. It was just used athleticism and ran and got the ball. And then even more impressive was the ball that Waldschmidt snared. It was 115 mile off the bat, just screaming line drive, liner, had enough height on it. Technically, I guess it was a fly ball, but it was on a line. And, he got a good break and he raced straight back and he ran a good route and threw his glove up in the air and caught it on a dead run with his arms fully outstretched. It was very impressive play. So it's just great to see those two guys actually, playing good defense, playing good together. The fact that they didn't collide on that first ball that Lawlar ended up catching, I was impressed by that because they were both going after it pretty aggressively, before Lawlar must have called him off it and got to the ball. So really great stuff to see there. And also in today's game, Alek Thomas playing for Team Mexico had 2 more base hits, continues to look solid with his new batting mechanics and very much decreased leg kick. Still got a little kind of backwards hitch there, and he raises the heel pretty high, but he's not lifting the leg all the way up. He had a line drive single to center field with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. Torey, after the game, said, it was great to see him do that. A little sting because it was against one of his own guys. It was against Juan Maria. But it was a little awkward, but, they were proud of him and very happy to see him do that.
I'm curious, circling back to Waldschmidt, he's been a big part of this spring training narrative from the beginning, right? Like, could Ryan Waldschmidt do enough this spring training to force the Diamondbacks' hand and include him in the opening day roster, even though he hasn't played in AAA yet, which we know they generally send guys to AAA before bringing them to the big leagues. As of right now, Jack, I know he went 0 for 3 today, and I guess those numbers technically don't count toward the Cactus League numbers since it's a separate game against Team Mexico. His Cactus League numbers, though, 6 for 19, 1 home run, 3 doubles. He went 3 for 3 just the other day, made a whole lot of hard contact. Where are you at with Ryan Waldschmidt? Like his chances to make the team today versus his chance to make this team 2 weeks ago. Do you feel like it's noticeably higher than what you maybe had in your head at the start of camp? Or is this like, yes, Ryan Waldschmidt's a good player and he's showing he's a good player, he's a good prospect, but maybe he hasn't been so out of this world amazing to the point where this team would actually put him on the roster?
I would say that in my mind, and I'm guessing in their mind, I mean, this is a player that they already refused to rule out from the beginning, that he might make the team. Mike Hazen was very clear, like, I'm not rolling that out. He's got a chance. He said that during one of his Zoom interviews. It's been repeated since then. So, take them at their word. First of all, that's, I guess, our starting point, right? We're going to take them at their word that they're saying that he has a legitimate chance. I mean, I think that when they say that about Ryan Waldschmidt, as opposed to, for example, saying that about Jose Fernandez, I tend to buy it more with Waldschmidt.
Yeah.
So with that as a starting point, certainly I believe that the way he's played has increased those chances. But I don't know. It's very difficult to say, was it 10% before and now it's 25? Was it 25 before and now it's 50? I really can't gauge that. It would just be pulling the number out of my keister. So I don't want to do that. What I focus on with regards to this is really, for me, it boils down to how far out is Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. I mean, if Lourdes is more than a month out, then I think the chances of Waldschmidt making the roster are higher. If he's less than a month out, then maybe it's a little bit lower. We already know that they're going to DH Lourdes Gurriel quite a bit to start out. But I mean, what is he going to be? The short side platoon? What are you going to do with Pavin Smith? His Pavin struggled a little bit on defense again today. Didn't look great. Santana's just a clearly superior defensive player. Kind of been feeling like, okay, Pavin's going to be the DH against right-handed pitching. Adrian Del Castillo still nursing his way back from a calf injury. I don't think he's doing any running yet. I don't expect him to play in any spring games, so he's not going to be on the opening day roster. So, when I look at the opening day, I'm like, okay, you're going to have Pavin at DH and Santana at first. And sure, you could have Waldschmidt in left and Lawlar in center and Corbin in right and Alek Thomas on the bench as your fourth outfielder. Could be that way. Could be Thomas is in left and Waldschmidt's the fourth outfielder. I don't really know how they would do that. Obviously, in that case, Barros is the odd man out. But what do you do when Gurriel comes back?
Yeah.
Is he only DHing against lefties? I mean, that's not going to make sense. Or you're going to send him out to left field and send Waldschmidt to the bench? So it's still a little bit of a logjam there at the moment. These things tend to work themselves out, so we're going to have to wait a few more weeks.
I think the two main factors that I'm thinking about are, one, how does Ryan Waldschmidt look defensively? Because we know that is just such a massive factor for Torey Lovullo and how he's going to feel about this. And certainly the reports there lately have been good. I know hasn't been perfect defensively for Waldschmidt in spring training, but the catch that he made today can only help. The other thing I think about is, even if Ryan Waldschmidt is making a lot of hard contact, he has struck out kind of a lot. He's struck out 7 times in 20 plate appearances, super small sample. So you're not too worried about that, but that is a 35% strikeout rate, which is quite high. If Ryan Waldschmidt's going to be successful in the big leagues, he's not going to be able to strike out that often. And so I think even though he's made a lot of hard contact in spring training, the D-backs are looking at more than just the end results. I'm sure they're looking at some of the approach stuff as well. So we'll see. I mean, at the very least, Ryan Waldschmidt is making this interesting so far, and that's going to continue to be a central narrative for for the next couple weeks.
My final thought on it, I mean, just thinking it through, I think still the most likely thing is that he starts the year in AAA, assuming everyone's healthy,
Yeah.
right? And Lawlar and Thomas and Barossa, if he's there, they all better play well.
Yep.
Because, I mean, I don't know how far you got to get, like April 10th or 15th, like 15, 18 days into the season. And then at least you're guaranteed, whether or not he's Super 2, at least you're guaranteeing 6 more years of control beyond 26 if he doesn't come up till, April 15th or something like that. So, my thinking is that he probably starts the year in the minors, but he could be up well before the end of April. That way the team still gets him really ostensibly for almost 7 full seasons of control, although they might end up in a Super 2 situation if he's called up before late May. But at that point, they're not going to care about that. So, Lawlar better stay healthy and hit, and Thomas better keep his legs on the ground and hit, and Jorge Barossa better show that he can hit major league pitching because this guy's coming, and he's going to replace one of them. And I would be shocked if he doesn't replace one of them by, say, June 1st or whatever. Sorry, I just got a phone call from our good friend Gambo, but I'm going to have to call him back.
All right. Gambo is calling up the fountain of wisdom that is Jack Sommers, understandably so. I think it's super interesting. Barossa is also an interesting part of the narrative. Like, he's out of minor league options. Do the Diamondbacks want to see more of Barossa in the big leagues before they would be willing to move on from him? It feels like the answer is probably yes. So we'll see. One of the more intriguing narratives of spring training. Before we get out of here, Jack, we did want to touch real quick on an unexpected story. It sort of came out of nowhere that the Diamondbacks in the past year or so actually sold a minority share of the organization. I guess Kendrick was the one who really sold a minority share. It's about 10% of the organization. And the buyer is the current owner of the Denver Broncos, Rob Walton, a member of the Walton family, of course, the Walmart family. He apparently has a net worth of $146 billion, which makes my brain hurt just thinking about that. But this was an interesting situation, Jack. It sounds like the Diamondbacks actually use some of the money there in order to make some improvements at Chase Field.
Right. The initial reporting on this came from Sportico, and they had an article, and they said that the shares were sold at a valuation of $2 billion for the franchise, which is well above the $1.3 billion that Forbes had estimated. So if this guy bought 10% at a valuation of $2 billion, then he's put in $200 million. Now, according to John Gambadoro's reporting, both on Twitter and then later subsequently on his radio show at Arizona Sports, these are shares that had previously basically been purchased from minority shareholders, and then I guess they were resold to this new minority owner, Rob Walton. Now, it's not a voting, he doesn't have anything to do with running the team. He's not going to be involved in, deciding who's the GM or the manager or anything on the roster. There's nothing like that. It's strictly a financial investment, maybe with some benefits, of being a minority owner. But Ken Kendrick isn't selling the team. He's not leaving. He's not going anywhere. But this cash infusion clearly allowed them to do some things. I know that, as the article from Sportico said, the majority of it went into the stadium. They got a brand new, big, huge video board and a new ribbon. And, of course, last year and this year, they've been pushing the envelope on the payroll. So I'm sure some of it went there. So, again, yes, Ken probably bought these shares and then resold them to Walton, but he's not pocketing all this cash. It's all going right back into the team. So it's all great to see. It's creative, and this is the way you do business.
I still just can't wrap my head around 146 billion. I mean, that's what, like 7 times the net worth of Steve Cohen. who of course is well known as like the baseball owner who doesn't really care about how much money he's spending. But yes, it's a minority share. This doesn't necessarily have huge implications for how much money the Diamondbacks are spending in free agency or anything, but an interesting story there nonetheless. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Snakes Territory. As always, be sure to like this video if you're joining us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, maybe leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts if you haven't already. You can find us on social media. I am at Jesse and Friedman. Jack is at ShoeWizard59, and our show is at Snakes Territory. Of course, you can find Jack's written work covering the Diamondbacks over on Arizona Diamondbacks on SI. Jack, any final thoughts here as we say goodbye?
Well, again, if you're a Prospect town, get out and watch the ball games because you're going to see a lot of them with all the guys at the WBC. So you're going to see prospect-filled lineups for the next couple of weeks, especially with the split squad games coming up.
Yeah, that's really a mouthful.
I talk for a living.
Well, thank you again to all of you for being with us. Thank you to David Peralta as well for taking the time. So much fun chatting with him. And we'll be back with another edition of Snakes Territory very, very soon.